Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Peter Abraham. I am a registered nurse with extensive hospice experience. And I'm glad you found this channel, whether you're an existing subscriber or new to the channel. This channel talks about resilience in the face of life storms, end of life topics, particularly in the area of hospice and palliative care, early retirement, especially when it is unexpected. In my case, terminated at 61 and a half. Still may never find out whether it was ageism, the fact that I am an unvaccinated registered nurse, or due to advocating too strongly for my lung cancer patient who wanted to be palliative sedated, basically put into an unconscious state until they pass, legal in all 50 states. May never know. So looking at retirement issues, as well as book publishing, as after being terminated and going through that emotional whirlwind, looked at my bucket list and started to write books, and published my 40th book, Beyond the Hospital, Considering a Career in Hospice Nursing. Just was published last week. I like to start off the videos with looking at areas of gratitude. So in the very previous video, I talked about part of the keys for resilience. Resilience means snapping back. So if you get hit, you're snapping back. You're coming back to a baseline, or you're moving forward in a positive way. And one of the areas of being resilient is focusing on areas of gratitude. You want to find areas of silver lining. So in every bad situation, there's typically a piece, a silver nugget, might be close to a speck, but there's something positive out of that experience. Maybe it's the learning experience of, I don't want to be in that situation ever again. But look for those silver linings. Look for areas to have gratitude. And another portion, and this is where I brought in a very short story dealing with one of my new Facebook friends, Rebecca, who I met in the Hospice and End of Life Facebook group. Her dad's on hospice, her dad, David. I got permission to talk about his situation. And so I mentioned that she had a fantastic, a wonderful win with her dad. When the week prior, she was visiting and he's agitated and screaming out and yelling out. Is this terminal agitation? Is it reversible delirium? Didn't know at the time. Many of us were speculating. Yes, armchair quarterbacking does happen, especially on the internet. But she went to visit, not this past weekend, but the weekend prior. And she said, I love you, Daddy. And very clearly, I love you back. That was a win. Good job, Rebecca. Focus on the win. So looking at recent areas of gratitude, is my wife, Laura, and I moved from Pennsylvania to central Kentucky late last year. And it's been a interesting learning experience. I appreciate everyone in Kentucky. Life is different here, and in most part in a fantastic and good way. So I had my Pennsylvania nursing license endorsed by Kentucky. It's nice to have that electronically, that I can go and look myself up, and here's the license to share with prospective employers. But came in the mail today, official, that I'm recognized. Now, granted, for that piece of paper, just to have them mail that to them, $30 plus the dollar because of using a check. But that's like a point where on the back here wall, there's my original degree from Harrisburg Area Community College, Lancaster campus. Go Hack! My initial nursing license from Pennsylvania, my one that still has not yet in the frame from 2024, the renewal, along with my medical exemption that I am allowed medically to not wear a face shield when I wear the appropriate face mask. And so that's going to eventually go up there and maybe get its own frame. And so that's good news. And then in other good news area of gratitude, in the hospice and end of life group, I have become, and when I say friends, I do mean that on a, I'm not sure how to define. You have those people you're very, very close to that you meet on a regular basis and they know almost everything about you. And it's not yet an acquaintance, but it's not that deep friend. And part of the INFJ in me is like, there has to be a better word for this or for that. But Martin, who I know from having had the pleasure of interacting with him for, it might be a year or two. I never timed when I initially started interacting with Martin. Martin took wonderful care of his mother, who was on hospice, and that's how I met him in the hospice and end of life group. Just with the interactions of how he advocated for his mom and promoted advocacy, promoted really getting to know the medications that you're on and that your loved ones are on. Because just because a doctor prescribed it at such a point in time doesn't mean that it's valid now. Even a medication prescribed 3 months ago may not be valid now. And it's just going to be its own discussion. I do have a book on medication reconciliation. Actually, have it handy enough to. So, medication reconciliation, hospice care. Sad part, this should be done in every medical interaction. You go to the ER, this should be done. You go to urgent care, that should be done. You go to your annual physical, that definitely should be done. But sadly, and I learned this when I was in Harrisburg Hospital, they call it medication reconciliation, but it's literally checking the box. Oh, you're still taking this. That's it. Not what's the absolute risk reduction, not reviewing are you going through any of the side effects, not going through that you still need it. So before I turn it into a conversation on medication reconciliation, Martin is very aware and very advocated for his mom. And when the other week when I was sharing with the hospice and end of life group, I participate there a lot, as do other nurses and social workers and chaplains and hospice patients themselves and family members really participate in this group. It's a wonderful, supportive, encouraging, diverse group of people. Well, when I was sharing that I was finishing, I'm working on finishing the book. I don't have the author copy yet. I just ordered it yesterday. And because author copies make no money for Amazon, all I do is pay for the printing and shipping. They don't make a profit on author copies. It takes a while before you get the printed book. So when I ordered this, it took a while. Paying customers get it long before I do as an author copy. And yes, I could buy it and get a royalty. That would be odd. But here I was finishing up the book Beyond the Hospital to encourage nursing students and nurses that are working anywhere but hospice to consider becoming a hospice nurse. And Martin said, I should consider writing a book on helping people like him write and implement advance directives. I don't want to lose sight as I share this of 5 Wishes, and I'm going to link the 5 Wishes website in the description of this video. And I actually ordered 2 copies of the 5 Wishes earlier this week, even though I'm going to be writing a book. because it is such a wonderful tool, and many hospice agencies give this for free. But I understand there's 5 Wishes out there, and there's other books dealing with advance directives out there. But I'm approaching it from a different angle, as suggested by Martin. And his angle was, for those who are interested, is at the time he was working through all these issues with his mother, she was not yet on hospice. She was going through chronic healthcare issues. And who could he ask the questions to? And who's going to really go over the meat of the moral, ethical, as well as the actual, the rubber hits the road for feeding tubes, for IV hydration, for antibiotics, whether IV or otherwise, and some of these end-of-life decisions. I have had nurses explain it, even going over the POLST, Physician's Order for Life-Sustaining Treatment. Now, some states I think it's the MOLST, but it's basically a document that talks about whether you're going to be full code, meaning doing everything possible to keep you alive without considering comfort. Comfort's the last thing on their mind, and I'm being very serious when it comes to full code. Or if you're going to be do not resuscitate. And even I've had nurses that I've watched and had to do, because I never want to, in front of anyone else, bring down another nurse, even if they're not a coworker. I believe in encouraging and supporting when I'm able. Otherwise, I want to keep my mouth shut because I don't want to shoot anyone down. I'm not saying I would stand by for if you're watching facial, blah, blah, blah. These are unedited videos. So unless there was an egregious error taking place where harm was going to happen, if harm's going to happen, I'm diving in. I don't care about feelings. I'm going to prevent harm. But I'm not going to cut somebody off at the knees because I think they're creating a hazard. And let me give you an example of that on the subject of advance directives. So here I remember doing my admission visit for a gentleman, I'm going to call him Terry. And he lived in a very rough neighborhood that was very active with crime. My hospice agency that I was working for the time said that I was going to be the nurse going because I was a man. All of the female nurses were concerned over rape, molestation, and being a victim of crime. I'm not saying they don't have a right to fear, but it's like, wow, I don't know how to take it. Either A, they think I'm more fit than I am. I'm a geek, so it's not like grandmothers could probably beat me up. But okay, fine. And this was a patient who did share with me that he was mugged coming out of his own apartment, still in the building. Somebody came down the steps behind him, and he had I forget whether it was knife or gun to his back. So this was a type of situation. And I was doing his admission visit, and we were filling out the physician's order for life-sustaining treatment. And I was going over the difference between DNR, do not resuscitate, and full code and the different choices. And Pennsylvania, like some other states, allow a la carte. A la carte's like the buffet. You pick what you want. And I am not a fan of a la carte when it comes to these forms because most people don't understand the implication. Again, why to write the book? For instance, if you pick DNR, but you pick IV hydration, you now have a conflict of interest. Most hospices don't do IV hydration. You'd have to go to the hospital, potentially be admitted. So guess what? The moment you go into the hospital, they have a right to override the DNR, and now you might be full code. Or if you're doing, I don't want hospitalization, but I want IV, or I don't want hospitalization, but I want cardiac monitoring. Those are things hospices don't do. So I went through this conversation with Terry, uh, and he was getting ready to check off the DNR, and I'm witnessing and I'm helping him through this. And for hospice in general, Medicare allows you to come on full code. So if you're watching this and your hospice agency says you must be DNR, they are lying to you. They are incorrect. I want maybe lying's too harsh, but they are incorrect. Medicare allows you to be full code. It's advisable to be DNR because if you're on hospice and the prognosis is correct, you are going to die. And that creates a huge problem at that time. That's another video. But Terry was picking DNR. Well, his nurse from home health came to do the make sure everything was closed in her case that we could admit to hospice. And she's there. And as he said, yes, I want DNR, she made the comment, don't you want them to bring you back, Terry? And this is when I'm doing my best to have the game face, but internally, I wanted to scream bloody murder, kick her out of the room, not physically. I mean, not from a physical standpoint in terms of being violent. And like, are you out of your mind? This very frail individual, when you do CPR, and again, any measure that is to rescue somebody who's dying is going to be physically violent. We're not trying to kill the person when I say physical violence, but if you take a CPR course, you're going inch to an inch and a half deep with these compressions. About 150 beats a minute, 120, 150 beats a minute. And most of the time you're breaking ribs. You're not trying to break a rib, but because of what you're doing, unless you're doing this on a very obese person, you're doing on an elderly, frail person, ribs are going to break. And if they break, we're so concerned about restarting their heart, or I should say keeping circulation going might be the more correct term. We're so concerned about keeping the circulation going that we don't care. We're like, did it puncture your lung? We are like, right now we're trying to save the life, and after the fact, we'll triage whatever damage is done. So oh my word, are you kidding me? I did this because I didn't want to cut her off at the knees. I did not want to embarrass her, and I knew this is something we could address later with Terry. And it's not that it's done in force when I say later on. This is his decision through the entire course on hospice. But it's like, oh my word. So there is a lack of quality information out there. And I know from working with many hospice liaisons, they would appreciate when I would go with them to provide the clinical education as to here are the ramifications of your choice. I will not judge you on your choice. This is your choice. I will love you and care for you and do my very best to honor your choices. But there are ramifications to those choices. And so they would love that. So I'm going to just play a short video clip just showing the certificate and the book cover. I usually, when I go to write a book, I do my initial research. Like, is this something I have enough meat on? I then create a book outline. So there's going to be 10 chapters plus appendices in this book. The whole meat of it, not to give away the story, is going to be in chapter 5. But I did write the introduction today. So let me run that for you right now. So this is the registered nursing license from the Commonwealth of Kentucky, along with the book cover and introduction for Beyond the Living Will. And so the last item of gratitude for at least this video is thanks to God, thanks to Dr. Andy, and all of the people out there who are purchasing the books that I've written. This month's not even over yet. Friday is the last day of the month, but I am flabbergasted as to the book sales. Um, December was, I believe, 272, 273 books sold. And right now we're on track for 450 for January. That's of all different books, not just one book. That's all of them combined. And it's, on one hand, it's not that I can say I don't have to look for a job ever again because of these book sales, because February could be a complete bust. Um, but until then, God is always in charge. And so I'm thankful for this. This all helps. In terms of unexpected events, all of this snow and ice, mainly the ice, we had several trees that were severely damaged on our property here in Kentucky. And one of the trees had the potential to crash through a fence and damage our neighbor's property, as well as cause problems with the fence between our properties. And they have dogs that would now get into our property. Granted, our puppies have a separate mini fenced in area. There was a tree near the road that a branch was in danger of falling and blocking the main street. And so if any of you ever hired those firms that remove trees, you're talking several $1,000s, and this was completely unexpected. So, we buy the home, that's an expense. And we did not do this on contingency, so we had the expense of two properties. Thank God, praise God, last Friday, the 24th, our property in York, the sale's complete. Thank you, God. Received all the paperwork Monday of this week. And so we don't have that, I want to say concern, but that issue anymore. It's just this property. But we paid that. We had the fence area for the puppies. We have to get a water system because of the just wanting to have cleaner water, and now the trees. But God is always good. So looking for those silver linings. So this video is mainly an update, but also to encourage you for two things. One, look for areas in your life where you might be in the midst of a storm, but what good is this? Now, in the very hit of it, like when I went in for that 3 o'clock meeting where I had a feeling I was going to be let go, I did not see a silver lining. I was emotionally numb. And it did take me, I guess, the rest of June, 2 weeks, maybe 1 week into July, just to get out of that funk of, are you kidding me? This was the second time, thankfully not in a row, dealing with suspected that I'm unvaccinated. Again, I don't know for sure. So in the right when you're hit, I'm not saying you can see a silver lining right in that moment, but stay faithful to God. Look for that silver lining. Look for what areas you can have gratitude. And like I shared with Rebecca, you're going to have wins in your life. No matter how small the win, no matter how big the win, focus on the win. So that's one. The second thing is I've shared in previous videos, and I do this late in the video. I know probably watch some videos, they'll share within the first few seconds. And maybe for me, I forget. Maybe for me, I'm not saying they're a salesperson, but I don't do heavy on the like, subscribe, comment. But if you're liking what you see, like, subscribe. But feel free to reach out to me. Today, unexpectedly, I had a slew of people messaging me on Facebook. Lady in India that I've been back and forth with, her mother has dementia. In her case, there is a feeding tube involved. That creates its own, yet another infection. Another UTI as well. one of the ladies, not Rebecca, another lady, I don't have permission to use her name or say too much about her story, but she had observations about her loved one on hospice and just wanted a second opinion that if given a description of the event, what are my thoughts? And if you ever do this, by the way, if you don't interject your thoughts, what you think it is, you get a clearer view because there's this biases of agreement bias. So she told me what the observations were without going over her thoughts. And then I used my hospice background. This sounds like, it reads like your loved one is transitioning. Did you let your local hospice provider know? And she came back, yes, they're coming today. And that's what she was thinking. I said, it looks like she's transitioning. If you don't know what transitioning is, ask in the comments. We could have a discussion. But for right now in my life, as I am out there still looking for a job, I did not hear back to see if I'm going to get that third screening for the part-time registered nurse telehealth consultant. That's in God's hands right now. They did say that the clinical person that would interview next was off for the rest of this week. So we'll see. But I do have it on my tickler, on my Todoist. This is when to make a decision whether I'm going to reach out to them or I'm still interested. Or did I make the cut or am I ghosted? But I'm still looking. But until then, and even if I do get hired, I've been putting it out there on these videos that if you have questions and you need to talk to somebody, right now I am doing this. I'm not saying out of the goodness of my heart, that's too cliche, but I'm not charging for my time. Nor am I trying to say, I mean, I may say, and I'm going to try to be very transparent in my books about me. Rebecca did go, is there any of your books that might be worth reading? And I told her about my word Conversations at the End book. And so I did mention that to her. But I've had conversations where whatever I write, even the articles on compassioncrossing.info, there's close to 400 now that are completely free. This is not about me. I'm putting it out there to see if I could help you. So the lady who wanted to confirm her thoughts, transitioning or not, I didn't mention a book. This is about her and her loved one. Answered her question. She thanked me. I don't know if I'm going to hear from her again. That's okay. Rebecca and I are still having conversations. Hi, Rebecca, if you're watching this. Please do keep Rebecca and her dad, David, I have permission again to share, in prayer. His birthday is February 12th, and so we're in prayer that he'll live to February 12th and preferably to at least the 13th. There's a family member, I believe sister, if my memory is correct, coming to visit from out of state. And so whether it might be in prayer, but with Rebecca, this is not about charging people. If you haven't gotten it from these videos, I really love and appreciate helping whoever I can. If I can. I don't want to be taken advantage of. I do set boundaries. But I feel we have a greater purpose here on earth, and it's to encourage, uplift one another, not to put people down. There's enough in life that drags people down. So if I could help you in terms of helping you understand the chronic illness, with the understanding I'm not a doctor, we're not engaging in a nurse-patient relationship, those are the disclaimer parts, and I'm not telling you to ignore your doctor's advice, I'm not giving you medical advice, but just sharing heart to heart, these are my experiences, these are my thoughts. Here's our questions to ask or to consider. Here's what to look into. Let me know. I don't know it all. Don't claim to know it all. But if you need somebody to talk to, comment. Let's talk. Thank you for your time. God bless and